Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another casted game for Age of Empires 4. We are on Boulder Bay, and in the south corner of the map in blue is Beastyqt playing as the Malians, and in the north his opponent today will be crackedyhere playing in pink as the Abbasid dynasty. New look, new changes, new updates to Boulder Bay. As you can see, the Boulder Bay, well, the bay is a little bit smaller, so the land mass is probably, it's definitely a lot more. It's probably 50% enlarged. Before it was a lot more of a narrow opening on land, so this is going to be certainly more contestable on land as it is on water, but it is certainly a true hybrid map with the bay there, with the fishing going to be so strong for both civilizations. Possibly we shall see how this one pans out. Now the Abbasid dynasty opening up with 2 docks. The docks are cheaper of course for the Abbasid dynasty, half the price there, so the fishing ship numbers will really start to rise up for crackedyhere. That will make for a very impressive fish boom, and the food income will be skyrocketing for the Abbasid dynasty player. With the Malians though, their bonuses really lie on gold. Starting to see those houses being built around the gold mine, getting ready for the pit mine to be put onto that gold vein and get that passive income. But of course, just opting for the dock for now to get that food income and the fish boom rolling. As we see a couple of sheep being tagging along with that scout. Obviously not a big focus for crackedyhere with the scout to bring those sheep back home. He will be very happy with the fishing economy is going to be developing. As you can see, he has 2 docks there, both producing. Well, a little bit of a delay by that, but that's kind of understandable at this early part of the game. Getting those villagers onto wood. Currently has about 8 of them on wood. Another building a house there. So new season 3 will be coming out in October. Super excited for that, and we're also having a good look at the new user interface by Capture Age. As you can see, it's absolutely spectacular. It's going to be fantastic to observe games. Bit of a change of course of action there for the villager. Going to sheep there, wants to get up to that feudal age a little bit quicker. Just the 1 dock so far with 4 fishing ships there for Beastie. Should be a little bit more here for Crackedy, you'd feel. In fact, it's only actually 4 for Crackedy. But once that wood income really starts to skyrocket, that will be increasing. As you can see, a couple more coming out right now. Now, there has been a complete naval rework as well, so it'll be super interesting. We've got basically 3 types of ships. We've got the Dow, which is the archer ship. We've got the Bagler, springled ship, and the incendiary ship, the explosive Dow. So they've got slightly different names, of course, depending on the civilization you're playing as, but fundamentally you have an archer ship, a springled ship, and the incendiary ship. So let's just get this right. So the incendiary ship counters the springled ship. The springled ship counters the archer ship. And the archer ship counters the incendiary ship. That's generally how it goes. I'm sure we see a lot of the fights. I'm really looking forward to the demolition ships, which is the incendiary ships. We'll call them demolition ships for now because it's what we're used to really. And it sounds a lot better than saying incendiary ship. Imagine saying that 5 times in a row. It'd be tricky. 8 fishing ships for crackedyhere, 7 for Beastie. So despite having a 2nd dock, not really paying off for him too quickly. But it will once it gets to the feudal age and starts to produce those units onto the waters. And the Mansa Quarry is the landmark of choice for the Malians today, and Beastyqt. That will be giving him a generation of 75 gold per minute, and also possibly stone depending on which one he opts to choose for. As we see the economic win coming in for the Abbasid dynasty now on the top right. No surprises there really. We'll be having cheaper villagers, 50% cost discounted there. That food income will be huge for the Abbasid dynasty, especially because of course he's got the fishing economy, so wouldn't be too surprised to see some stables there for horsemen, and they should be able to pump those out in very good numbers. Alrighty, so things are looking a bit slow at this stage, and that's understandable on Boulder Bay. Often does take a bit of time to get going. We see a double dock coming out, the 2nd one now from Malians, and kind of getting ready for that feudal age fight on the waters, I suspect. Scout on scout action. But yeah, certainly been hoping you guys have enjoyed the casted game so far on this preview build of the Age of Empires 4 new patch. And now I do stress that because of course there will be some changes, some changes that we've discovered so far as well with the town centers, for instance. They are actually a bit more expensive on the stone count, so they actually cost 350 stone at the moment. And so that does nerf the Rus a little bit, a couple of other civilizations, the Abbasid dynasty included, because they do tend to want to go for those multiple town centers. And so that's something to consider for the 2 town center expansion builds you might be working with. Also, something to note is that the Rus, they no longer get the bounty from sheep. Now obviously we're not going to be experiencing that in this match, but it's something to think about as we see a little bit of an early fight here. The archer ships coming out for the Malians. Obviously getting to that next stage quicker than the Abbasid dynasty is really quite key here. And I feel this is going to be maybe an establishing meta in the feudal age or on water maps, hybrid maps. There's 2 ways to play this. I remember distinctly from Age of Empires 2 that, you know, depending on how you want to play it, you could go pretty aggressive in terms of going for the feudal age, not really going for the fishing ships, just to make sure you get to that age up a bit quicker, and then invest in archer ships, make sure you have control of the water, and then work from there. You see a big bada boom with the demo ship there, taking out the Bagler, the springald ship, as we can see that's the counter, and the archer ships absolutely demolishing the fishing ships. Holy smokes. Absolute mayhem. Villager going down there as well, and Beastyqt getting the early advantage. You can just see the advantage you get from aging up quicker, and so, ooh, that's a big shot. Now I really feel like now for the Abbasid dynasty we're establishing and learning something here on hybrid maps. If you're going up against other civilizations like the Malians, where you can build your landmarks particularly fast, it might be a better idea maybe to hold off on the fish boom for the Abbasid dynasty, and in fact try and get up that age up a little bit quicker so you can actually invest into military ships nicely. Because Beastyqt now is going to be winning the waters, and it's going to have a lot of food economy, as you can see. He's getting a couple of archer ships now just to get rid of those fishing ships, and now the Abbasid dynasty will be struggling. Does have a couple of baglers coming out, but certainly in the early stages getting to that feudal age quicker means you can produce units quicker on the waters. And clearly it's paying off here. 2 baglers are going to try and slap some fish, but there is a demo ship there walking in now. Takes 2 shots, doesn't get taken out, so you can see that's how it counters it. Does have good movement speed, those demo ships. Another one pops out as well, and oh, absolute mayhem. Crackedyhere losing a lot here, and he's going to lose a lot of fishing ship as well. So he has 3 docks, so should be able to produce some military units, but he's lost a lot of resources already. And let's take a look at the bottom left. So you can see on the capture age, this is a perfect statistic. You can see destructed value or worker kills, and you can see, look at that destruction value, 2,000 there for Beastyqt versus the 1,000 almost for crackedyhere. And everything's happened on water so far, so you can, you know, the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the numbers. Beastyqt certainly leading the way in this match so far, has a good number of archer ships as well. Fishing ships will be going down for Crackedyhere. He's going to lose the water control, you feel now. One thing to consider is that the demolition ships, they do produce in 15 seconds. The other ships take 30 and 25. 30 for the Bagler, or the springald ship, and 25 for the Dow. And it does mean you can get some explosive ships pretty quickly from the town, from the docks rather. So that's why I suspect Beastyqt is just pulling away. It's a bit dangerous just to camp there, so you can't necessarily do that. It is a bit of a slower push, and also you can get arrow slits, I believe, in the next age, in the castle age, for the docks, if you so wishes to. Actually, I'm not sure if that's for every civilization. It might just be for the Ottomans. I've seen that happen for the Ottomans. I'll have to quickly check that. But in any case, we're going to see a lot of fishing ships. Let's take a look at the food income for Beasty, because really we talked about the Abbasid dynasty's food income skyrocketing. In fact, he's been pushed off water, so his food income is a little bit struggling here. He invested a lot of wood into that, and he lost a lot of it. 3,000 destruction value there for Beasty versus the 1,200. So we see Beasty getting a better food income per minute there. No surprises with the fishing ships. We see 3 demo ships going to be heading towards those fishing ships. Should be able to take a couple of them out, but some do garrison inside the dock. In fact, Beasty decides to keep hold of them for now, just in case the explosive ships come out for Crackedyhere. As you can see, Beastyqt keeping the demo ships there in front of the docks. Kind of interesting he's doing that, slowly torching them down with 2 scouts as well. Now, the Malians did get an upgrade for these archer ships in the past. I think it's been taken, is that Canoe Tactics? I think it might be Canoe Tactics. Where it basically increases the number of arrows firing by 3. In fact, that is the case, and that is a pretty strong, because actually I haven't done the versus testing between archer ships and springald ships, but the amount of damage that these archer ships can do now is pretty impressive, especially with that bonus that they get with the canoe tactics upgrade. And actually they can take really cost-effective trades against the springald ships, even though the springald ships are supposed to counter them. So bear that in mind, but what I will tell you now is that there are plans to take care of that, and there are plans to get rid of canoe tactics. So if that's something you've come aware of and been used to in the public update preview, just know that that might not be coming in when the Season 3 patch in October. So we'll have a quick look at that in October to see how they've addressed that. I believe they're taking that away, so that's what I've noticed so far. As we now see some palisade walls going up there for Beastyqt, looking to obtain some map control. And let's take a look at what crackedyhere is doing. He's going to be losing his docks, that's for sure. And meanwhile, they might be looking for a transition to the food resources on land. He's going for the berries, maybe the deer after. Second town centre, the third town centre rather, coming out for crackedyhere, paying an extra premium for those, had to spend an extra 100 stone than he would be possibly used to because of that, and the village count will be starting to climb back up again for Crackedy. But look at the economy for Beastyqt, 65, and that will be largely in place because of the fishing ships, and that's incredibly strong. Look at the food count there for Beastie, almost 1,000, well, just over 1,000 now, so yeah, it's looking good for Beastie. Another town centre, so certainly the villager production is ramping up for Crackedy. 4 town centres, in fact he's going to need to do that because he's obviously counting up against, or coming up against 4 docks. Just 1 TC play, but the food income will be crazy, and I'm sure getting a market or 2 will be useful for Beastie in the late game if it needs it. But I mean, really what this does for Beastie is it means that he can actually transition, get all those villages on wood and gold and anything else he needs. He's also having a bit of a cow boom as well. It'll be interesting to see what he does go up with the next stage with it. This is going to be the Grand Fulani Coral, a new, well, a nice landmark. It is new, of course, with the new civilization, and it's a landmark which provides 20 food per minute per cattle that are nearby. You can see the influence there, so going to be getting a lot of food, that is for sure, both land and water. You see the income there, almost 1,500 per minute for Beastyqt, pretty spectacular. Working on those walls. Now let's see what crackedyhere is up to. Holy moly, we've got a lot of warrior scouts, one of the new units that we haven't seen before in terms of with the other civilizations, because it's unique to the Malians. It's a fast cavalry, effective at raiding, it's an upgraded scout effectively, and does have an increased movement speed, so these guys are pretty fast. They're able to see in stealth forests if needed, and that's pretty important. You see them engage a little bit with the spears, not really what they want to do. They are pretty weak in combat, so they can still have the torch damage. So if you have been aware previously, there have been play times and play styles of doing landmark snipes. I'm not saying Beastyqt is doing that now, but he's just harassing his opponent here, keeping active with the warrior scouts. And I'm not surprised because they're relatively cheap to make, and this could be a nice way to play as the Malians, because on water, if you can win water like this, well, what's the one resource you will be having abundance of? Well, it's food. And guess what? These warrior scouts, they only cost food, so you might as well keep your opponent at home, keep him busy, keep him raided. You know, the idle time alone will be worth it as he starts to try and torch down some of the town centres as well. It enforces also the spear production for Crackedy. He has to do that, and he has to keep the spears at home. Now, meanwhile, behind this, you know, Beastyqt's got an amazing fish boom. Is transitioning, well, not transitioning, he's keeping the fish boom, but also keeping, or starting to build up, the cattle boom. The cow boom is real for the Malians. Almost 2,000 food per minute, but crackedyhere doing well on the food count himself, getting a lot of villagers on berries. But the trouble for him is once those expire, he has to make a hard transition to farms, and that's going to cost a lot of wood, of which he doesn't really have that much of right now, just about 600 in the bank. You can see more pit mines being placed there for Beastie. We'd even go out towards the right side and plonk them down there as well for even extra gold. Now don't forget as well with the cattle boom, oh, the walling up, very nicely done there by Crackedy. He's going to get some value here. A couple of scouts will be perishing to the spears, but not all that many, about 2 or 3, and a couple more spears head in. These guys are actually pretty tanky. because they're veteran warrior scouts now. They have been upgraded in the Castle Age. They are pretty tanky, I have to say, against even spears. Holy moly, wasn't expecting that. Yeah, holding on to their HP pretty well there. We do see the Culture Wing going to be coming in just under a minute for the Abbasid dynasty, played by crackedyhere. And for some forestry upgrades as well, as we see now the harsh farming transition. That's going to be difficult to produce units with after that transition. Well, before that transition, as the transition is happening. Because he's going to rely on those farms to come up quickly. And he's had to spend a lot of wood to do so. He's going to start to burn down those palisades. We'll be breaking in pretty soon. And look at this. Imperial Age is coming in for the Malians. Beastyqt had so much food. I'm sure he did a bit of trading there as well. Building it with 15 villages. The Griot, the unique landmark for the Malians, of course, where it can begin festivals for 300 gold, providing global enhancements for food, gather rates, or military production, speeds, or the damage of torches and siege attacks. Now, the important thing to consider is, well, and thinking about this as a fun strategy, maybe a bit of a cheese. Imagine setting off a festival for the damage of torches. You could just mass up a huge amount of those warrior scouts and run into your opponent's base if they're not walled up, and, well, torch them down. Especially with the festival, could be very strong. And those palisades have kept crackedyhere at bay. It's bought Beastyqt some time to get to that Imperial Age. And, well, let's say one thing, is crackedyhere is nowhere near that Imperial Age himself. We do see it. We see the strat. Veteran warrior scouts, a lot of them. There's just so much food for Beasty, he can afford to do this. Here comes a bit of an attack here for crackedyhere. Has half the number of army, but granted, they perhaps the counter units for what Beasty has. And the warrior scouts heading towards the left, keeping him preoccupied a little bit as crackedy's pushing the villagers off of gold. And he's going to start trying to torch down these houses. Now, one thing to note about the Malian houses, as you can see, they have a 5 population increase. That's different from the usual 10, but they are half price as well. And it's all part of the balance, trying to get the houses around those gold mines to boost them up a little bit. Because, of course, the pit mines, they actually become more efficient at gathering or getting the gold generation, number of houses you have around it, or gold mines, whichever you prefer. Stonewall's coming out for the Malians. Wants to keep out the Abbasid dynasty, at least for a bit longer. Look at the economy, looking so strong here for Beastyqt, that is for sure. Again, warrior scouts just harassing back at home. Makes crackedyhere split up his army just a little bit. Crackedyhere will spot the villagers trying to build up the stone walls. The stone walls will go up here, but might lose a couple of villages in the process. But that won't necessarily bother Beastyqt all that much, as he does now send another group of warrior scouts, a lot of them. I think that's all of them. How did they get across? Did they transport ship? Can't have done, surely. No, it looks like he just went through the palisades. It was open. In any case, he's going to take an engagement here, just going to fight head on against camels and spears, and it's probably going to win it, would you believe? He's probably going to win that fight, even against the man-at-arms that a couple of them are there, but it's just the sheer numbers here. Looks like crackedyhere is trying to push through, but we've seen this time and time again, unfortunately with crackedy as well. I did cast a game between crackedyhere versus a Muslim where he split up his army, had an army up front, but couldn't break through because of stone walls. And same sort of thing is happening again. He's being pushed back at home, but there's a lot of spear production here for crackedy, so that's what he'll need to do. I wonder if the festival just got triggered. I don't believe so. I'm going to try and take down one of the town centres. I'm not sure if he'll manage it. There are a couple of spears there. And even if he does manage it, it will take quite a few casualties, but it's going to be pulled towards that wood line. Maybe looking to idle some of those villagers, and whilst he might not necessarily kill all that many, he might get a lot of idle time. In fact, crackedyhere is just leaving the villagers there. Holy moly. He's going to lose a lot on that wood line. I think he's focusing down up front because there is a bit of an engagement here. Lots happening. Spearmen on the stables. But look at the army numbers. The warrior scouts just doing such a good job there. These guys, are they elite? Yep, they are indeed elite now. And so it's going to be Imperial Age versus Castle Age units, despite them being counters. Yeah, the warrior scouts not doing half bad. Again, it's just the spamming of units. The sheer number is pretty overwhelming. And now what's quite interesting is that this is of course costing food. No gold units really, apart from the elite sofa now. So it's going to be the elite sofa that's going to be played by Beastyqt, making that transition, harassing some villagers on the food there in the north. As he heads back and just rebalances and regroups his army, you feel here. Farming transition continues for crackedyhere. Now, population count looking healthier for Beastyqt, that is for sure. Almost population capped. That's a lot of the eco upgrades and military upgrades as well. Oh, there was no phalanx upgrade there for crackedyhere for all that time. That kind of hurts, especially because of the number of warrior scouts on the field. Beastyqt just re-establishing his pit mines there on the gold. We'll see another big raiding of warrior scouts, and remains to be seen, but now that being in the Imperial Age, wouldn't be surprised to see some siege on the field. There's a lot of units to protect them. Another raiding party comes in, relics looking to be picked up. I'm not entirely sure who by, it might have been Beasty, but what's happening here on the north? A lot of the warrior scouts engaging with the villagers, but will be taken down by the camels and the spears, but most importantly, what Beasty's doing is just keeping Crackedy at home, and he's going to attack these villagers here on the right. Beastyqt attacking from multiple angles here. Not quite attacking, just running. Running away from the spears, and he's torching down this town centre as well. Multiple armies doing multiple things, heading towards the deep part of the base. The spears at home, and they have to be at home for Crackedy. There's no way about it. He can't be aggressive when there's so much raiding happening. And it all comes down to the sheer numbers of these warrior scouts. Surfers mixed in. Camel Rider's going to do good work against that though, but don't forget, these warrior scouts are pretty fast. Let's take a look at the speed actually. Elite warrior scouts, they do have a movement speed of 1.88. Let's take a look at the Camel Rider. 1.87, so a fraction slower. Of course, the Spearman a lot more slower, but these guys are actually faster than Camel Riders just about. Does get trapped there in the north. Warrior Scout's just constantly running around, and crackedyhere can't get out of his base. Not with these units running around, as we see another group of Warrior Scouts pop out on the right side. Again, they're going to be harassing those villagers on farms. Scouts take the engagement. They will be perishing, but these are just trash units costing only food, of which obviously Beastyqt is not struggling with at all. But what this does is it forces crackedyhere to stay at home and spend a lot of resources on spears, which are pretty expensive actually, considering compared to warrior scouts at least. So I feel like warrior scouts trade effectively well in terms of their usage, not necessarily in the direct fight, but it does mean also Crackedy will be struggling to get that Imperial Age, although he's just about clicking now. No, he's not. He's actually spent a lot more food. So stuck in the Castle Age is Crackedy, and constantly being raided. Warrior Scouts do perish on the west, but you get the feeling really that wasn't going to be bothering Beasty. He just wants to keep the army from Crackedy at home. Look at the gold reserves and the food reserves for Beastyqt. He could probably just spam any gold unit he wants now. He's actually going to get even more map control with the keep on the front lines. Going to protect that secondary, well I say secondary, but this extra gold vein. They get some outposts as well for vision. Still, a couple of these warrior scouts still running around. There comes a forward siege workshop under the protection of the keep. We see this so often. Forward keeps going down with the siege workshop push. Doesn't have all that population space left there. As we see the score on the right side, Beastyqt is certainly in the lead, and now it's just going to be a matter of time, you feel. Just a slow push here for Beastyqt, should do it. There's quite a lot of army here for crackedyhere, camels and spearmen. Alright, sorry for that very little hiccup, but we see those warrior scouts taking down that outpost, or almost taking it down actually. The village is going to start to repair. It does have a spring on emplacement in that outpost. It comes a bit of a push for Crackedy actually, with spears and camels, quite a large army there, but they are Castle Age units versus Imperial Age units. Don't forget, there is elite archers here, and these elite archers actually have poisoned arrows, and there are cannon emplacements in this keep, and this is actually not a great position for Crackedy. He's trying to push the army back, but he's going to lose everything in doing so, and what did we discuss earlier? The eco for Beasty is huge, and so Beasty, if he loses his army, it doesn't matter. He's just going to replace it very, very quickly. And that's the problem for Crackedy. He doesn't really have that capability to produce as much when this army is lost. Only 1,000 food in the bank, and 700, 800 gold in the bank as well. It's not going to be enough to produce this army again massively. And looks like that Beastyqt is going to be building up the numbers again. Has a lot of production behind this. You can see the army trickling in, the veteran, well, the elite so for now, and the elite archers. Elite units versus veteran units at best. And looks like the Imperial Age units are going to be triumphing, of course, as you'd expect, as we head 26 minutes into the game. And there are a couple of trebuchets, though. 4 trebuchets, pretty impressive that Crackedy was able to afford all of that. And it will be looking to take down that keep. That's going to be key bit of detail if you can take those down. And I think we see a couple of Musafadi gunners there on the front line for Beastyqt. They are firing off and doing great work there as he starts to focus down on the trebuchets now. And once those trebuchets go down, you get the feeling it's going to be the end of it. There is a mangonel. 2 mangonels have popped out. They'll do good work against the archers, though. And 1 mangonel does get taken down, though. I think it's a trebuchet, actually. There is still 2 more mangonels. 1 actually left now. And once that last one goes down, you get the feeling that Crackedy might start to call this one, because that keep is still alive. And Beastyqt was able to repair it. And that is a huge staging ground to attack from. There's outposts with cannon placements as well. I should say toll posts, actually, because these are called toll posts or toll outposts for the Malians. We see more archers going to be raiding the farming economy, and that's really going to hurt. It really hampers the ability for the Abbasid dynasty to replace these units. Very food heavy units, camel riders and spearmen. It does have 2,400 gold food per minute income, roughly. But that will be slowly starting to reduce as the Musafadi gunners are starting to come out now in mass numbers. We even see culverins as well. That'll be able to snipe out siege coming out for the Abbasid dynasty. A slow push, methodical for Beastyqt. Boiling oil coming in the keep as well. And we do see those archers going on the right side, idling a lot of farms. There is a lot of farms being idled there. Around about 30 odd at least. As mangonels get sniped as they pop out, does get a good shot against the Musafadi gunners, but it's not going to be enough, and that is definitely going to be enough because Crackedy taps out. Beastyqt takes the win on Boulder Bay. His Malians triumphant over the Abbasid dynasty. I hope you guys enjoyed this casted game, and if you did, do give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more Age of Empires 4 casted games, do click the right hand card screen now. Take care, and see you next time.